Hey, this is Russell, and I work at the video store, the place that we can all go to every week when it's movie night. On days like today, when the store is quiet, I get to watch movies and series and talk about them with my friends that work here. All right, let's do it. Let's open up the shop.
Did you see that thing yesterday on the TV? It was ready, interesting!
Good morning, guys.
Hi there.
Good morning.
How is everybody?
Well, I'm fine. I'm good. It's a good Monday.
It feels like a good
It feels
Monday.
like a good Monday.
All right, we got Kolsky here.
Hey.
Kolsky in the morning,
guys.
And we got P-Dog.
Yes.
What the fuck, P-Dog?
Yeah. Have you never heard
No.
that? Really? Like, they would always call me that. I get called P-Dog, P-Unit, Peanut.
Oh, my word.
Peanuts,
Peanuts
nice.
good.
P-Dizzle,
Okay,
Parisi, Peronaise.
Oh, my word.
Peronaise.
Yeah.
Fucking
Oh, that's
love
lovely.
Peronaise.
Yeah.
Now, if we're going to go with high school or university nicknames, you guys have to call me Cabbage. That's how it goes.
Okay.
Cabbage.
All right.
It's
We can't-
coleslaw.
No.
Coleslaw.
Okay.
Why have I never
That's
thought of
smart.
that?
Hello, everyone,
Hi.
and welcome to the video store. Thank you for wandering into our video store. Today is the Clerks episode, so it's myself, Perrin, and Cole, and we are going to catch up and talk about the TV shows and the movies that we've been watching in the last week or so. We're here to help you figure out what you can watch, but I also want to catch up with my chums. So just before we get too into it, I just want to mention the fact that next week we're going to take a break, just for 1 week.
Okay.
Cool.
I am leaving for Amsterdam.
What you doing in Amsterdam?
It's an interesting story.
Yeah.
About many months ago, Leslie, who's my fiance, her best friend offered her a ticket to Taylor Swift,
Oh,
No.
cool.
and so they've been planning it
That's
for
crazy.
months. And so I'm going with just to keep her company.
Wow.
I've been to Amsterdam a few times.
So
I'm
you're not
lucky
going to
enough.
watch the Eras tour?
I'm not going to be there, unfortunately. Those
Oh,
tickets are just phenomenally expensive.
Jeez.
And also, if I now were to try and find a ticket, I would be far away from them.
Yeah.
So it's just not seeming possible that
Right.
that I'm
That's
going to be
cool,
there. But
though.
Les is going to go and watch Taylor
She's
Swift.
stoked.
Oh yeah, she's planned her sparkly shoes
It's
and
so
everything.
crazy. Like, I met a guy recently. Well, I didn't meet him. I saw him again after a few years, and he's a professional Pokemon player, and he travels all over the
Just the
world
fact
to
that
play.
you get to
Yeah.
say that you do that.
And he was in Brazil, I think, for a tournament, and like his friend was like, "Oh, Taylor Swift's in town in Sao Paulo," and he's like, "Let's go watch." He's like, "Okay."
Well, you should. Those things all should sell out.
Do
It's
you
amazing that he
know-
then.
Do you know how much he paid for his ticket? He paid 400 rand for it. They bought it
What?
from a dodgy like third
No,
party guy.
But then it could be
ways.
fake, though.
They were worried. They got to the front of the line and like, because the language barrier is like hectic, so they go to the front of the line. They're like, also they only paid $400 for it, so
Yeah,
like
so
it's
if-
fine.
If
You know?
it's lost, it's
So they
lost.
get there, they hand the ticket. They spent 6 hours on a bus to get there, right?
Jesus.
Fucking
So
hell.
they got there, they spent an hour in the line, they handed the tickets, and a big X popped up on the screen. They were like,
Yeah.
oh, fuck, okay, it's not going to work. And the person was speaking to him in Portuguese. They're like, oh, shit, we don't understand you. And then his friend came over. He's like, oh, you're at the wrong gate. You have to go to the south gate.
Jesus.
And they got there and they got in. And like, there was
Wow.
Sure.
general standing. They said it was amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
400 rand, eh?
Wow.
Yes.
So we going away, and you know what? I just want to take a little break.
Yeah.
So it just makes sense that just for a week that the video store closes. We've just finished Encounters here at the
Yeah.
Bioscope, which always happens in late June, and so for me that's always the half year mark. Once we get through Encounters, which is usually this really fun, busy, crazy, intense, week or 10 days, it's quite nice to take a break. So we're going to take a break just for 1 week as the video store. So please don't venture too far away, and we'll hopefully see you again soon in that regard. But we've got one more episode this week coming out, which is a guest episode that happens on Thursdays when we've got a good guest to share with you guys. And this week it is going to be Brian and Asher, who are very remarkable dudes. They are not only actors and filmmakers and own this incredible production company, but they have recently been making or owning the company Do Us Wine.
Oh, our sponsors.
which have sponsored us, and it's a very exciting, very cool business and venture. But you really, it's going to be a very special episode because there is so much more to Brian and Asher, and it's going to be
cool.
revealed
Excited.
over the course of the
Yeah.
chat, because you'll realize where these guys have popped up and where you've
Yeah.
seen them and what they've done, and it's gonna join some dots for you, which is
Amazing.
really fun, and they're just lovely dudes, so it's going to
Yeah.
be a great episode. Okay, before we get too into this, guys, I just want to make a quick announcement for everyone that's browsing the aisles. I'm just going to press this little button over here. Attention all customers, this is to let you know that the 45th Durban International Film Festival is coming. It's presented by the Centre for the Creative Arts at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, and it'll take place from the 18th to the 28th of July. It is the oldest and the largest film festival in Southern Africa, presenting over 100 screenings, all of which are premieres in this region. And it's going to be over a bunch of different venues. There's Suncoast Cine Centre, New Metro Pavilion, and the Stir Kenneco and Gateway. Tickets are 80 Rand, and they can be purchased through each cinema's website. We are then also going to do something with the Bioscope later. Let's get a quick little rundown. What's going on? What's happening? Perrin, you were at a wedding last night.
I was at a wedding last night.
A wedding
and
on a Sunday.
It was a Jewish wedding. It was an absolute rager. I forget how hard they go at weddings.
I could tell you.
Was fucking mental.
I could tell you how they go at weddings because we once had one happening next door to us. We stay in an
really?
apartment block, so
Yeah.
noise just travels upwards.
Yeah.
And there was a fucking rager of
Yeah.
one, and I was like, "It's a Sunday.
Yeah.
Who the fuck gets married on a Sunday?" And
Day is God's day.
Yeah.
Please, you know.
I guess God
Yeah.
wants
God
you to
parties on his day off.
Yeah, he wants to
Hashem parties on his day off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The horror is amazing, right?
Yeah, dude. Like, it's basically a mosh pit. Goal.
So you were teaching me the move outside. So it's basically like what Jack Dawson and Rose do in Titanic.
Yeah, but way harder.
Really?
They just spin like crazy. Like, they lock each other in.
Yes.
And normally the guys do that. So there's two horrors. There'll be like one with all the boys being like, "Oh, boys," you know, like mosh pitting and like jumping over rows of men lying on the floor for some reason.
Yeah, that's like they do like a kind of evil Knievel
Yeah,
move.
dude, someone always gets hurt, like severely hurt. And the women one, it's more like chilled, but they still go hard, you know. And they put people on the chairs and they like carry them around. They do horrors at bar mitzvahs as well. Like,
Okay.
yeah.
I think I've seen it before.
Yeah,
in videos.
It's like a movie you're watching. You're like, I've seen this in some movie.
I've seen this somewhere before.
Titanic, namely, they're all Jewish in Titanic. Rose,
What
Rose
makes
Finkelstein, you know.
what makes
It's terrible.
what makes the horror special and why it is so cool
Yeah.
is when it is in the wedding.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so normal weddings, you get comfier and comfier as you go, and all the pretense is usually
Yeah.
broken after the after the ceremony, after the speeches. Only then there's the daddy-daughter dance, then there's
Yeah.
the first dance, and then you start getting loose.
No,
Jewish weddings,
They start
fuck.
immediately. Like,
as the reception starts. So
Yeah.
you usually like
What?
you've just come from the ceremony.
yeah,
They break the ice immediately.
they literally start dancing
Holy
straight away.
moly.
straight away, and it's so fucking smart. It is
is
so
smart.
smart because then the rest of the night is an absolute jaw. So when you get to the speeches,
Yeah,
everyone's
but then the
more
speeches
rowdy.
are like homework. You're like, oh,
No, but everyone's broken in,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
so
for
no
sure.
one's stuffy. The emotions just
Yeah.
go wild. It's great.
yeah,
That
no,
makes
Jewish
sense,
weddings
dude.
rule, dude. They're really fun. Like,
And whenever
super
I
fun.
see like videos of that stuff, I always think to myself as this white English South African that has no culture.
Yeah.
It's like there's nothing there.
Well, remember with the Rugby World Cup,
Yeah.
you see folks like in Monte Casino, now that
Yeah.
we have transformed, now that
Yeah,
there
yeah.
are black players,
Yeah.
they're black fans.
Yeah.
So like when you're in Monte Casino and dudes take to the streets,
Yeah, for
the
sure.
fake streets,
Yeah.
because we would just happen to be in Monte
Monte.
Casino. Do you remember myself and Cole? We watched the
We watched it together
We
at
watched, it,
the Mexican shop
we watched
Oh,
it
that's
in,
cool.
in Monte Casino.
after,
That
just
must have
after
been
my
fun.
show.
Yeah.
The audience, the fans, were going through the streets singing like beautifully, And I was like, what do we have as whiteys?
Nothing.
Nothing.
No, there's no culture. So that's when I watch Jewish, like any kind of Jewish folk music.
Yeah.
I honestly think it's the best folk music in the world. Like whenever you hear it,
Yeah,
it's
dude.
like, this is, it's fun. It's
Yeah.
fun music.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it's fun to party to, fun to sing.
But yeah, dude, like the English,
and it's rich with like history and heritage. It's
but that,
beautiful.
like all music, like and like languages in that region. So like Arabic, Hebrew.
Oh, the Levant.
Yeah, even like further to like Iran side, like Farsi and all that stuff. The languages are so beautiful, and they have like 20 different words for the word love. And like you know, like it's like in English, it's like love. We have one word. Love. Like, oh, that's so lame.
so
As opposed to us South Africans,
Yeah.
a schmarky.
Yeah,
Maybe a
schmarky.
schmarky is something
Jesus
different. As a band, I was when I first joined Short Straw, I was introduced to the word bonch, which was
wow, I haven't heard of that one.
yeah, and I was like, what is bonch when you want to bonch a chick?
Oh my god.
Okay, but this is important. It was important to stipulate the fact that it's sex with a little bit more love. Like it's somewhere between a
some
pump
passion. Yeah.
and
So it's not-
love making. So it's like it's a little bit
good,
of a
healthy-
dirty deed, but it's got love in it. There was like a subtlety to how it, and I was like, okay,
Yeah, but not too much. Just
not
a
too
touch,
much,
you know.
just enough to make it endearing,
yeah, totally.
but then just enough to make it
Bonch.
like.
So Bonch is the best sex ever. in
well,
theory.
it's perhaps the best of both worlds.
Yeah, it's not quite there yet. It's like it's good.
But I just love the Why
Yeah.
I bring
Not-
it up
not
is
enough
the.
love
It's got some
making for me.
heart. You know.
It's got some subtlety in
Yeah.
it. You know?
It's dreadful.
It is dreadful, but it's at least got a little bit of love in it.
You
Yeah.
guys were talking about love, and love in different languages. Made me think of Celine Dion. So I watched a documentary
Oh.
on Prime Video.
My
Okay.
God, I was finished.
Yeah, dude. And she always is looking at her children like it's a candid walking through her home, and her saying "je t'aime, je t'aime, je t'aime"
I
to her
do-
children, saying "I love you all the time."
Yeah.
And it just sounded so beautiful coming from a mother. Haven't seen that before, like candid, like French documentary. I don't know.
Yeah.
But her just speaking French with her children, stunning. But
yeah,
God damn it, that's a tough watch, dude.
that was a.
I think it's like not a good documentary, but the story, seeing her
Okay.
I
and
think-
seeing a woman or a musician rather being denied the use of their instruments, and especially her being denied. It happened in The Bear. I was watching The Bear season 3 last night, which I'd also love to talk about.
Yeah.
And there was a scene where this person was talking about, when you see those people in the world and they are good at that thing and they love it so much, and then they do it and you can see that they're the best in the world at it. Like, I hate those people.
Yeah.
And obviously I think they're talking about Jeremy Allen White's character.
Oh yeah.
And
just talk specifically about Celine Dion. What happened again?
so I'll get to that. Sorry. Yeah, it's true. I need to explain that context. But it's like that, watching Celine, right? Whenever you see her in interviews, she just embodies a love for singing like no one else,
Yeah.
dude. She's
Passion.
incredible. So
Yeah.
17 years ago, I think they said in the documentary, she was diagnosed with SPS or stiff person syndrome. So it's basically, they said in the documentary, it's your muscles rebelling against your body. It's a neurological disorder.
Okay.
So your muscles start to go into spasm. She's
Yeah.
had broken ribs before, like because the muscles spasm in such a way that they,
So
don't
she's
work
been
with-
living with it for a long time.
Yeah.
And the public perhaps doesn't know about this.
Yeah, so she had to cancel her Vegas residency because she can't sing anymore. Like at the
So then
level
I-
that she
yeah.
used to. Yeah.
But I think for a long time, from what I'm now piecing together, is that she had it and perhaps nobody really knew. But it
Yeah.
then became news when this condition now stopped her from singing.
Yeah, I think people were also very mean about, like, that's the great thing about the documentary is that, like, what I really liked about, I agree with you, it's not like a particularly.
Sure, but
Well,
let's
what-
talk about the stories and the
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
I'm more interested in that than
Yeah,
than
so
perhaps the
that's where I'm-
craft of
that's
the
where
documentary.
I'm going, right? So,
Exactly.
like, what makes the documentary special is because it's so intimate, it's so raw, and normally when you have movies or documentaries or reality shows or whatever about celebrities of that caliber, where they're like icons, right? They tend to not want to show the realness of the things that they're struggling with.
Yeah, they
because-
sanitize it.
Yeah, because they want people to still see them as these like fucking almost like deities, you know?
Sure,
right?
sure.
This like there's so many heartbreaking moments in this movie, and I watched it me and Kira like to watch a lot of these documentaries together, but I watched it before because I'm like, I don't think she'll be into it because she's going to be devastated the whole way through. There's a line where she's like weepy and she's like, I thought I was actually really good. And that broke me.
Oh yeah,
like,
I thought I was good. I thought what I gave the
my
world was good.
God.
And it's like it's over.
And
That's
that's
what
like
she's saying.
10 minutes
She's
into
like,
the movie.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then,
but
yeah,
what has
Jesus.
since happened? Can she still sing now?
She's
or-
going through a lot of physical therapy, and
Yeah.
they show the work
Still
that she's doing with the
struggles.
physical therapist every single day.
Okay,
But
so
it's
she
random.
can speak.
Yeah.
There's a film called Love Again.
Yeah.
Okay, and I saw the trailer for it where Celine Dion's a featured character.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's a bit cheesy.
Okay, so they show her recording the song for that movie, and they show one day where she like sings it, and she asks for a couple takes because she can't like find the right placement.
Yeah.
The next day she comes back, she listens to it, and you can hear it. I was also like,
Yeah.
it's not there. It's not the same
She
Celine.
straight
She's
up is like, I
hate
don't
it.
like it. I
hate
hate
it.
it. Please
So
can
let's
you do
try it again. And then she goes again for it on the second day, and then you can see her having like a blast listening to herself, like getting the right
Yeah.
nuances and the phrases and everything. And then she goes to sit down on a therapy bed.
Yes.
with her therapist.
That is one of the
And
hardest
then
things I've
she
ever
looks
seen.
at her foot and she's like, "Well, I just spasmed. Which means it could be the start of a seizure. And then she full on goes into a seizure, and they
it's like-
film the entire thing. It's
like
like they
12
don't cut it.
minutes,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
12 minutes, and they don't cut away from it.
Oh, and
There's this
hard
moment
to
where I
watch.
thought of, is it Edvard Munch who painted the Scream? Who painted
Yeah,
the
I
Scream?
think it is Munch.
Yeah. I like, there's a moment where you see her face stuck in a spasm and her eyes locked in like pain,
Yeah. And she's
and she can't move, and she's just
screaming.
like,
Yeah.
and you just sit there and you're like, Jesus Christ, I can't believe what I'm watching. Because then the spasm starts to lift, and then she starts to wail,
Yeah.
but she still
it's
can't move her body, but her voice
heart-wrenching.
works.
what a crazy thing to
And
get on film. Eh?
Yeah.
It's insane, dude. But it's like the fact that she allowed
Yeah.
us to see that. So it's
Yeah.
like, this is why she can't perform. And she even talks about the fact that in
Yeah.
previous performances, they had to cancel in line. She cries when she says, I lied about
Yeah.
why I couldn't sing. It was a nasal infection, because it's 1 in a million people that get this thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's Celine. You know,
Yeah,
you can't say the reason she can't perform is she can't sing.
Yeah.
That's weird.
There's one thing, there's one thing that they said was like a news audio, like over footage, and it's so true. In the medical world, you don't want to be a rarity because likelihood of
There's no precedent.
Likely,
there's no
yeah.
ways to.
it's just
How do you heal it?
yeah, it's just it's called I Am Celine Dion, and it's on Prime Video, and it's brand new. It came out this last week, and I've never been into Celine Dion's music, but I respected how incredible a vocalist she is.
Fuck you,
And-
Rolling Stone.
Yeah, I was literally about to
Cunts.
say.
What did Rolling Stone say?
They
Not
didn't-
put her on their
the
top
500
50.
is
Was it
500?
50? I think it was 50.
Oh yeah,
Or 100. I don't know. It
was a
They're
big
top
list.
vocalists of all time.
Oh, fuck off.
yeah. So like that movie, it's just
That just undermines Rolling Stone.
yeah. And like you said, you don't care about the craft of something, you care about the story of something. The
Sometimes,
intimacy
well,
of
with documentary,
it has to be raw, right?
because the skill of documentary
Yeah.
was getting that
it's
access.
capturing
The
yeah.
skill was earning her trust
Yeah.
to be in that
Right.
room.
That's a
Yeah.
good
Whether
point.
you've crafted the best edit,
Yeah,
it, to me, is irrelevant. You were allowed to film that.
That's
She
what I-
watched
yeah.
that and she said, "That's okay." Your subject trusted you to make this documentary.
that's what I respect about the documentary. Is after watching it, I appreciate her way more because I'm like, she's actually fucking incredible. It's actually a tragedy that she can't do what she loves. I mean, that line of like, I used to be good, and like she says, I miss music.
Yeah, I
Like
miss the crowd.
that's her life.
That's their
Like,
energy. This is all making me think about something else, which I'd love to talk about,
Yeah?
is the Nickelback documentary,
Oh, I saw that.
which is on
yeah.
Netflix. Love to Hate.
Brand new.
Yeah, also came out this last weekend.
Ooh, look
And
at
it's
this,
the same-
Look at this photograph, eh?
It's
Fucking
very
hell.
interesting. It is
Really?
very interesting because there is so much to Nickelback,
Yeah.
and this documentary is also just playing with that, where this band's like, we love this, and people have this, and sorry, they love what they're doing. This documentary also has you realize just how fucking successful this band was,
Oh yeah,
and how they
They're
came
huge.
from nothing, and how they were this kind of grassroots.
Sure.
But they just got so famous. And the timing is also interesting, that they existed at their peak just as social media was taking hold, where like
Sure.
the concept of a meme was being invented.
Yeah.
You know, where people had a voice
Yeah.
that they
Right.
didn't have before. You forget context.
Yeah, for sure.
And so
Sure.
at the heart of this band comes the fact that they were one of the more hated bands. And I'm putting
Yeah.
that in brackets, and it's because they weren't actually hated. They were just used as the poster people for this kind of ridicule. Someone had to be
Yeah.
the band that you sort of make fun of. And it was just
Yeah.
because perhaps their songs were so middle of the road. But there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And they were great, and they were heartfelt, and they were well-written, successful songs.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting to see the success and the way that like the band members are talking about how like their kids were teased at school.
Mm.
And the
What?
and the guitarist even said to his son, just like, you don't have to stick up for us. Like, just do whatever you need to like fit in. Like, you don't have to stick up for us. It's so interesting that they actually had
crazy.
to deal with this.
Yeah. No, I remember they still are universally hated quite a bit.
Well, it's like
Yeah.
it's one of those interesting things to unpack, because I don't actually think they that hated,
Yeah.
because they are so successful,
But
and they are so loved.
There's a weird resurgence of like Gen Zers. I don't know if they ironically are liking these post-grunge bands where it's like
Sure.
Creed and Hoobastank.
They're
One of the
making
worst
it-
It
bands.
has to be ironic.
One of the worst band names ever, Hoobastank.
It
Hoobastank,
is.
yeah.
It's horrible.
Bro, I think we should call ourselves Hoobastank. What the fuck is that?
It's got stank in it. The Huber part
It's
is
very-
okay, but
yeah.
it's the stank
The
that
stank
really.
is very early 2000s.
I really
circa
like-
2002. Yeah.
I really liked Huber Stank. There was a time in my life where I was like, this is a great band. That one song got played to absolute death.
Yeah.
And that was also what broke them in the more mainstream,
Yeah.
because it actually was a very slow song.
Yeah.
But the rest of it, like, it was pretty hardcore, like pretty heavy
Yeah.
stuff.
Did
Relatively.
you also have a chain attached to your wallet? And
Well,
Yes.
that's coming
I
back.
think I actually want that again. I
All
want
these-
it again.
Because I always lose my
I
wallet.
always lose my wallet. Exactly.
Well, it's more like pickpocketers in Joburg.
Yeah.
Maybe it's,
It's not a bad idea,
it's
guys.
not a bad idea. No, but I was talking to someone over the weekend who's got a daughter who's kind of on the cusp of like 12, 13,
Yeah.
14. And he's like, they are dressing like we did.
dude,
And
the
it's
90s
so-
are back. It's crazy.
Yeah, but it's so interesting.
Early 2000s
But
as well.
sometimes you need a little
Terrible.
bit of time. And so it was great to look back on that era.
Yeah.
Because you realize that is a long time ago now, when Nickelback and How You Remind Me, came to be. It's very it's
Jams,
exactly
dude.
what it's same,
Jams.
same as Creed. The two
Yeah.
sort of sang similarly.
Oh,
it was
Creed.
a style, right?
Post Eddie Vedder.
Post Eddie Vedder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You speaking of Celine, talking about having to lie,
Yeah.
right? Lie to the audience, had me realize about something I really want to chat to you guys about,
Yeah.
which is the Milli Vanilli biopic.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, we went to the premiere of it. It's called Girl, You Know It's True,
Girl, you know it's true. Ooh.
which is
I love you. Sorry.
so
I didn't even know what we're talking about.
okay. So
Like
do you know?
Milli Vanilli? What?
You don't know Milli Vanilli?
No.
Wow.
Okay, all right. I was hoping that perhaps you didn't,
Okay.
because a little bit like the Celine Dion documentary,
Yeah.
this isn't necessarily the world's greatest film. Okay, this is the biopic about this group,
Yeah.
Milli Vanilli. But because the acting's a little cheesy and like some of it's a bit like on the nose, but it is the most fascinating story in the history of music.
Yeah.
Okay, it's arguably the biggest scandal
Yeah. On music.
that the
history.
music history has ever had.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
That's
So-
crazy. Yeah.
cut to 1980s Germany. A producer who is involved in like Boney M
Yeah.
has
yeah.
this
I know that guy.
and Boney M itself was a very manufactured band.
Yeah. Disco.
Disco done for the sake, and I don't think people really even know they were German, or they sort of came out of Germany.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they stumble across these two very handsome mixed race dudes.
Yeah.
Okay, so they got long dreads, handsome models. Okay, they're
Yeah.
dancing at
Yeah.
they're dancing at a club, and they realize that these two could be perfect like pop stars.
Yeah.
So they recruit them in and sign them to the record label. But they've already got the song worked out. They've already got the song like basically recorded. And these guys are like, cool, we're going to be singers. How do we sing?
Yeah.
When do we start? When do we record?
Yeah.
And the guy's like, no, don't worry. Like, it's done. And they're like, what do you mean? We haven't sung.
Yeah.
And they embark on this project where the world thinks that they're the singers.
And they're the
Okay.
biggest
They-
act on the planet. at
You
that
you
point.
then come to realize, because I knew that they were famous, okay,
Yeah.
but it was a bit before my time because this is late 80s, early 90s. So I was born in 85. So I was, you know,
Yeah.
I couldn't even hold my head up when they
Yeah.
were when they were doing it, and it snowballed to the point where at one point they even won Best New Artist at the Grammys.
Yeah, which is one of the most controversial wins.
Because it's the only time when they've actually had to give back a Grammy.
Yeah.
Because basically, as you know from the story, and then what eventually comes out is this producer says these guys never sang a word.
Yeah.
They've
Yeah.
been lip syncing the whole time.
Yeah.
Wild.
And the world felt deceived.
Yeah.
And record labels and everyone in their team kind of didn't go, oh yeah, we're sorry, we were in on it. They sort of
Yeah.
pretended like they didn't know, and these guys fucked out.
Yeah.
But you forget how absolutely famous they were, and there was
They were
a couple of
huge,
people
yeah.
in the audience of the screening who were a little bit older than me, and they were like, you don't understand. They were huge.
Yeah, they're
they were
massive.
huge.
Pop
And then
culture
the one
phenomenon,
guy,
yeah.
shout out to Costa, who's quite a famous comedian, who was in the audience. He was like, I then didn't care
Yeah.
because for me, the music was so good
Yeah.
that it
Right.
didn't bother me.
Blame It on the Rain is a fucking banger.
Blame It on the Rain, and there was this other song called "Girl, Don't Forget My Number."
Oh,
and
yeah,
in this
yeah.
and this movie, they use that as an opportunity for you to see just again who the people they use that song's recording in the movie to show you who the people were that
Yeah.
actually were recording
Yeah.
these
Oh.
songs, because they were doing this back in Germany
Yeah.
while these guys were sort of touring the world.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because this is a biopic made by the people involved. So there was a woman who was the assistant to this main producer. Her name was Millie.
Yeah, they named
And
it half of it,
and half of the name of the band was named after this Millie. Millie is one of the executive producers, or one of the producers of Girl, You Know It's True, the biopic.
Oh, really?
And the surviving member, because there were these two handsome guys. One was called Rob, and the other thing, Cole, just to remember,
Yeah.
is that these are brown dudes in Germany in the 80s.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
So like
only
they
ones.
were a bit exoticized in the
Right,
sense
sure.
that they were these
Yeah.
kind of like handsome brown guys in Europe, where there were
Yeah.
not a lot of other brown guys
Yeah.
in Europe. When they then got to the States and they started talking, everyone was like, oh my God, they got the thickest accents.
Yeah.
Because the one guy was more German, the other guy was more French.
Yeah, he was French.
So
yeah.
Rob was German and this other guy, Fab, was
Yeah.
French. So they were these beautiful, interesting looking, because they had
Yeah.
these long hair and they
They had
danced
a
in
look.
such a way that
Yeah.
it was infectious. It was
Sure.
amazing. And it's just interesting that they kept this lie.
Mm.
They had to live up to it. They were the only people to lip sync at the Grammys,
Yeah.
where no one famously ever did.
Yeah.
They were, according to their story, which is this film, they were trying to be singers. They
Yeah.
wanted to be on it. They didn't want to be in on the
Right.
thing. They thought this could be a launch platform to then record more themselves, but this producer never quite let it happen, and then eventually it bottomed out.
Yeah, so it's interesting because, like, when I saw that movie was coming out, me and Kira were like, no, but we saw this last year. So we watched the documentary called Milli Vanilli.
Okay.
That was on Paramount Plus. So I just checked now; it's not available locally streaming wise. So if you have, anyway,
No, but that's good.
They're
and it-
definitely not telling you to use a VPN.
Yeah,
Don't do that.
but-
don't use a
I don't
VPN to
care.
log into
but
Paramount
that
Plus.
so
if it doesn't exist in South Africa,
yeah.
head out into the seas.
So also like fascinating, like because I had always known about Milli Vanilli through literally just the pop culture I grew up with
Yeah,
growing
Right.
up. Like TV shows would make fun of it, like you would VH1 the story behind, like stuff like that would pop up. So the documentary is really good as well because they talk to the people who were the actual singers on the record. They talk to Fab, who's still alive.
Yeah,
and
so
like
the other guy, Rob Cole, couldn't handle that breakdown.
Yeah.
So he lost his money,
Drugs,
was an addict, went into jail at one point, and then overdosed.
Yeah, so like
only one
Sure,
member
so it's
of,
quite tragic.
it is,
Yeah.
yeah. So the documentary is really like also fascinating because they remind you of how big they were and what a big scandal it was when it happened. Because when the rumors of them being lip singers were like it was around like in the early days because like you know Russ said that when people heard them speak. They had the thickest accents.
Right.
So Fab had the thickest French accent and Rob had the thickest German accent. And people were like, their tone doesn't sound anything like they would sound on the record singing. And the documentary talks to the guys who were the actual voices. And the crazy thing is, I don't know if they do it in the movie, but after that scandal happened, because there was a big falling out with them and the record producer. So they wanted out of the contract because he was like exploiting them. And the documentary does a good job in showing how exploitative the music industry is, right?
Yeah, that also comes through in the film.
Yeah, and this guy, so crazy thing, Boney M, right? Also, that singer lip synced. And his voice on those songs where he's like, you know, Boney M, that's the record producer's voice.
Well, like he's such a man.
Yeah,
from Russia.
They used his voice on the audio.
ways.
So like it came out that they also lip synced, and he was like behind that as well, which is nuts. And then like later on, when the scandal happened, he had the audacity to release the real Milli Vanilli. That was the name of the band, and it was the actual like people who were behind Milli Vanilli singing. But then they had the audacity to still have fake people in that because it didn't suit the look of the new Milli Vanilli. Like, it's just mind-blowing.
So he didn't learn his lesson at all.
No, well, it's just one of those things where you just got a sense of how the whole story, and especially this film, does give you an idea of just how fabricated the whole thing is.
Yeah.
And there's this great moment where, you know, they don't want to lip sync. And then one guy says to the other one, no, but you know, people lip sync all the time, and they're like, but they're lip syncing to their own voices.
Exactly.
The difference is we're not lip syncing to our own voices. We're lip syncing to someone else's voice.
And the great thing about the documentary, before we move on, is that it's a great redemption piece as well for Fab in particular, because this poor guy has been living with this shame all his life. Like, he talks about how he met his wife, and he had to like be like, I was in Vanilli, and she was like,
I was that guy.
Yeah, and like it's nice to see that this movie, there's eventually, it's not all doom and gloom, you know. Like this guy,
girl, you know,
comes
it's
out on the other end. You know?
Girl, you know, it's true is out in cinemas now, and I'm sure it'll make its way onto other streaming platforms.
Wow.
But it is also redemptive. You do leave it going like, okay, I get it. Like it's not great, but like I get it.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's not great as in like the fact that you lied and deceived people, but I get where you were perhaps coming from and how you were sort of caught up in it.
Yeah.
You get a sense of what
bad for them.
of what the 80s and the 90s were, where these two model dudes, they were basically immigrants.
Yeah.
Because Rob was this orphan kid that was adopted by these German parents. They didn't have money. They struggled. And so this was a chance. It was a lifeline. And it was, you know, there was a moment where something as innocent as them discovering sushi for the first time, you know, only happened once they were famous.
Yeah.
And you do feel sorry for them. But there's this great moment in the film. I actually think I was a bit taken off by the choice, but then I later came to really appreciate it. They sort of end the documentary. Sorry, it's not a documentary. They talk to the camera.
Yeah.
In Girl, You Know It's True. They sort of go, oh, I guess you're wondering how we ended up here. And so they sort of talk to you.
Yeah.
It's quite an interesting choice.
Yeah.
And at the end they say something like, you know, now it's all done and it's sad, but let's not be sad. I know what you want. Let's give it to you one more time. And they like actually get up and then sing.
Oh, that's cool.
And dance as if you're watching a musical. You know, at the end of Mamma Mia, for example, the story ends and then it's like, let's do a medley.
Mamma,
you know, let's give you one more little go, you know. So it was smart in that sense. And it had me Google them. It had me, I wanted to see, because there was a very famous moment when they were on tour and the record skipped.
Yes, yeah.
literally on "Girl, you know it's, girl, you
Yeah,
know it's,
and they're
girl, you
like-
know it's, girl, you know
Yeah.
it's," and then they like ran off stage,
Yeah.
which is where the whole illusion started to crack.
Yeah.
Shit.
But once again, it is okay to lip sync
Yeah.
if it's your own voice. The difference is this wasn't their voice.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I went to YouTube and was like, I wanted to see that moment
Yeah.
in real life with the actual dudes.
Yeah.
So
It's crazy, man.
we've had Leon Fanera up on the show. He's the famous South African film critic. His big one, which we've said many times, is did the film leave a lasting impression on you? Were you a different person, or did it leave you cold? That's your measure of a film.
Yeah.
And as I said, because it's not a little hammy acting, a little too like
Very
this is,
hallmarky.
yeah, well, because this film was told by them, you know, they have the ability to make themselves seem better or cooler,
Yeah.
and you sort of got the sense that you were being a bit persuaded. But the rest of the weekend had me listen to their music, Google, watch stuff, and I was
Yeah.
like, that makes this good.
Yeah, no, that's what you want. Like, you want audiences looking up on the stuff, you know, where like
And thinking
a whole
about
new
Milli
world.
Vanilli and just going
Yeah.
back on it and going, Jesus, that was insane.
Yeah, it's
We probably have been deceived
yeah.
100 times.
It's
similar.
it's the whole idea of them. They're a literal industry plant. You know,
Yeah.
where they're
Yeah.
like, oh, this is what the kids want. These two exotic men, you know, dancing to hip hop, singing songs. They got a cool look, and people ate it up.
Well,
They're
the success was also that the music was that good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I was talking earlier about that baby, don't forget my number. Ba, 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 baby. It's an earworm. And this is like the Roxette era. Because at one
Yeah.
point in the film, they even were like in competition with Roxette.
yeah,
Which
yeah.
also was like a manufactured idea, right?
Yeah.
This, you know, these Swedish
Swedish, yeah.
songwriters sort of go into the rest of the world. They could also hardly speak any English,
Yeah.
but they can pump out these like amazing
Yeah, bangers.
Western,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
English songs. It's
Yeah.
very interesting. Okay, so I liked "Girl, You Know It's True" in the sense of the story.
Yeah, you were captivated for sure.
You know,
yeah.
it did stop my world for a sec.
Mm.
You know, I was able to digest what was going on. So it is good in that regard.
good, man.
When's it coming out?
It's
out,
in
yeah.
cinemas,
Okay.
but it's going to get lost. You can see these smaller films will
Yeah.
will get a bit lost, and so that's why it is nice to talk about it. It is nice
Yes.
to tell people about Milli Vanilli, because
Yeah.
with every year that goes by, if this wasn't on your radar, you might not know that they even
exactly.
existed
Same thing.
as a concept.
That's me.
Another one I want to talk about, which is now coming up, is "Fly Me to the Moon," which I got
Is
a
it about
chance.
Frank Sinatra?
No, it is about the moon landings.
Oh, okay, cool. That's cool.
And now, do you not know
So
about
this was part of the terrible trend of music biopics being named after the biggest hit.
Yeah,
exactly, which is
I
which
just want to
is
dance with somebody. What was the Whitney Houston one?
I think it was that.
That,
Yeah.
yeah.
Fucking awful.
That's a dumb
Stupid
name.
Dude,
producers.
most music biopics annoy the shit out of me.
Yeah, except
It's
for
all the
Rocket Man,
same.
it's the best one.
Yeah, well, so Bohemian
yeah.
Rhapsody and Rocket
Fucking hated
Man.
Rhapsody.
Sure, but
Oh,
they
Bohemian
all.
Rhapsody's a fucking tragedy.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that they all chose this formula, and so a Milli Vanilli biopic kind of had to do the same thing.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting that they chose the song that not only was their biggest, but it had words like "true" in it. Girl,
Yes.
you know it's true. It's
It's very good.
That's actually
that's actually a smart. That's a
Yeah.
smart name. But "Fly Me to the Moon" is a big ass movie with Channing Tatum
Yeah,
and Scarlett
and Scarjo,
Johansson
yeah.
that is coming out
Whoa.
soon in the next week or two. It's
Oh, shit.
we are at the Bioscope. We're going to take it in its second week. I think it starts then on the 12th
Okay.
around the world. We're going to do it a week later, so our screenings start on the 16th.
Yeah.
It is about the moon landings.
Okay.
Channing Tatum is the lead, is the project leader of the Apollo missions. You know, the
Okay.
guy like
Yeah,
with
yeah.
the headset in
Buzz
those big
cut,
rooms. In the Florida section, because you know the space missions had two operations. They
Yeah.
had Florida, where the rockets took off,
Yeah.
and then they had Houston, which was perfectly positioned to then track.
Yeah.
So this wasn't in Houston. This was in Florida, where the rockets actually took off. So they were involved in the manufacturing and the testing of these rockets. But at this point, where in the 60s, the president, FDR, I think this was who was the guy that was
No
shot?
ways.
JFK.
JFK.
Oh, right.
JFK had said, we're going to put a man on the moon before the end of the decade.
Yeah.
But Vietnam's happening, so it's a very unpopular time to spend millions on like something as silly as space travel.
Yeah.
But they realize that they need to drum up more public love for these missions. So they bring in Scarlett Johansson, who's like this marketing whiz, who understands that you got to get America behind it. So that's where Wheaties sponsored the astronauts and Rolex, became brand ambassadors, and also once again about deceiving the public. She's like, because Channing Tatum then has to sort of deal with her kind of coming in and kind of upsetting his mission. But she's got a very important job. She's raising the money that's going to fund his mission. But he's like, we can't wear, Rolexes in space. She's like, you're not going to. It's just the illusion that these astronauts wear Rolexes in space. And of course, there's a little bit of chemistry. But then what happens, and this is interesting because it also comes out in the trailer, Woody Harrelson is like a from the top government person who brings her in to help drum up this. And it's fun and it's happy and it's cool. And, we're getting the moon mission going. He then says, I need you to film a fake moon landing in case the real one doesn't happen.
Get me Kubrick on the line.
Well, they joke about that.
Really?
They do. They joke about that. She says, we should have gotten Kubrick.
Yeah.
And so they secretively to Channing Tatum, she sets up this fake moon landing. And I don't want to give more away, but they play
Sounds
with
like
that
fun,
and it's
man.
fun.
Yeah.
It ticks all the boxes. It's fun. It's quite smart. It's quite witty.
Oh, and
like
it's the director of Love, Simon.
Oh, I love
Greg
Love
Berlanti.
Simon.
Love Simon's a magical
Yeah.
What's
movie,
Love
dude.
Simon?
Love Simon.
so
Oh,
sweet.
it's so special, dude. Oh my god.
Okay.
You tell him, Baron.
So Love Simon is about I'm vaguely remembering this now, but I loved Love Simon.
You
It's
just know
about-
you loved it.
No. So okay, so he's writing a letter. Or,
He's receiving letters from Simon.
yes,
And he's in the closet.
yes,
This young
Okay.
boy in high school.
Okay.
He's receiving SMSs
yeah.
or whatever from someone named Simon and just connecting with Simon.
But does
and
he
then
know who
falls in love.
Simon
No.
is?
Doesn't know who Simon is. Simon's this mystery person in his school.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to reveal himself because they're both in the closet.
Okay.
And it is the most wholesome fucking
It's
love
really
story
sweet.
you've ever
Yeah.
seen in your life.
Did
It
you
is
watch?
so-
Did you watch
the
Love Victor?
series? No.
It was also wholesome, but then it fizzled out a little.
Oh,
But,
no.
Yeah, it was also the same vibe. That character, the guy who
Yes.
plays, he comes in later,
Okay.
but like for like a cameo.
Okay.
But it's got a very cheesy. The opening credit sequence is very like. Mid early 2000s Disney
High school.
show. Yeah, it's weird. Like I'm like, where's this coming from? Yeah.
This is something else now.
Oh, Love Victor's on Disney Plus.
So it's
Yeah.
a series based on the movie.
Yeah, it's a
basically.
spin-off.
series
Yeah.
spin-off.
Yeah,
Okay, I was about to say. Okay, so Love Victor is on Disney Plus.
yeah. So
Is Love
Victor-
Simon? Is Love Simon anywhere?
I'm not too sure. I wouldn't be surprised
I think
if
it's on
Disney.
Netflix.
Yeah. So Love Victor takes place in the same universe as Love Simon. Like it takes place like
Yeah, it's
after Love
Netflix.
Simon. And Love Simon in this world happened, and he's like,
Okay.
so he's going with that vibe as well.
Lovely.
So Greg Berlanti's the director of Fly Me to the Moon. I'm definitely watching it now.
That sounds like fun,
It's
man.
great, and it is a nice cinema movie.
Sounds like a good
because
date movie.
It's a perfect date movie
Yeah.
because there is something for the guy in
Yeah.
the sense that it's like rocket ships and moon
Yeah.
landings and astronauts and space. We all fucking loved space at one point.
Boys.
It's like space and dinosaurs
Yeah.
were like the sort of two
Yeah.
big boy loves.
Yeah.
I remember reading books about space.
Same.
Yeah.
It was like it's
Yeah,
deep
space
in
is cool.
it's deep in our like core
Yeah.
as dudes, right?
Scarlett Johansson's marketing worked out.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
She, it's very indulgent. I don't know how much of this was ever true, but it's great. It is an Apple TV Plus movie, so it will come to Apple TV at some point. But take the cinema window, not only because it's showing at the bioscope, but because it is a nice movie to watch on a big scale with big rockets and moon landings. But it will eventually come to Apple TV Plus.
Just a quick little recommendation.
Yes.
Did you guys watch Apollo 10.5?
No.
Richard Linklater.
Yeah, GeForce told us about it a while ago.
So great. So It's a fun little movie. It's rotoscoped animation style, so like Waking Life, Scanner Darkly.
Yes.
So it follows. It's set in Austin, Texas, as you normally would with a Richard Linklater movie, and Glenn Powell's in it as well. Anyways, it's about a little kid who, over his summer holidays, the space people, while they're getting ready to go to the moon, they start training a kid to go before them.
Yeah.
To like go to space before them. So like they start training this kid.
Because they need a little kid because it needs to be a little human.
Yeah,
right?
so like they're like almost like he's like a test chimp.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
So like they're prepping him in case like, so like the whole premise of the movie is this kid is telling the story about how he was actually the first one to go.
But it's sort of
like
a little,
so fun, yeah.
It's a little. It's meant to be a bit autobiographical. It's
Yeah.
meant to be Linklater when he's a kid.
Yeah,
It's like his
and-
fantasy of sort of what his childhood could be or what he
Yeah.
wanted it to be. And it's lovely. So Linklater, we've spoken about him.
Yeah.
In the back, arguably one of the greatest filmmakers of all time.
Awesome. Yeah.
I love how he doesn't have the front and centerness of a
Oh,
Spielberg
yeah.
or a
Yeah, yeah.
Scorsese because he maybe doesn't have a definitive look or
Yeah.
maybe he shies away
He's just
from
a cool
doing
dude.
stuff. But
Yeah.
when you look at what work he's done, he's consistently been incredible.
He makes my favorite hangout movies.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
think the films he makes aren't necessarily these huge Hollywood blockbusters,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
they
yeah.
are very loved. Like Before Sunrise, which is also a hangout movie. It is a
Yeah.
hangout movie.
Before Trilogy is a hangout
They
movie.
just spend these beautiful sort of moments together,
Yeah.
hanging out, Dazed and Confused,
Yeah.
and then most recently Hitman, which
Yeah.
you know you wonder why some of these movies do so well and are so good, and you're like, oh, it's because a
It's
smart
Linklater.
person's behind
Yeah.
it. It's the same as School of Rock.
Yeah.
Why does School of Rock stand out as being the special cult hit in amongst Jack Black's other stuff?
Yeah.
And it's because Linklater wrote
Yeah.
it and directed it.
He didn't write it.
Oh, sorry, but I mean he.
I think he may have written part of it, but his roommate was the writer.
Yeah.
Well,
It's School
yeah.
of Rock.
So from
Mark
this
White, yeah.
sort of shared
Yeah. White
you know
Lotus, yeah.
brain.
Sorry, that was such a him. He didn't write it.
No, thank you.
Such
No,
a
it's good.
terrible
That's why you're the
moment.
fact check.
Yeah, so Apollo 10.5 is on Netflix. Check it out. But Cole, you wanted to talk about The Bear.
Okay, so this is being directed at Russell because since this podcast has started, I've talked about the Bear season 1 when
Yeah.
it released.
Yeah.
Talked about the Bear season 2 when it released. Now it's time for the Bear season 3, and Russell hasn't watched any of them.
You haven't watched any of them?
I've watched a little bit of season 1.
It's so good.
I totally get and understand why it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that it's there.
Yeah.
I personally don't necessarily want that level of anxiety
Yeah.
and intensity at 8:30, 9 o'clock
Yeah,
at night.
you don't want Calm screaming at you to get the fuck out of my kitchen.
I totally get how good it is. I
Chef.
fucking,
Sorry, Chef.
I really, really get it. I just feel
That's a
like
very tense show.
at the
Jesus.
moment, my days and my life are nice and
Yeah.
fulfilled and intense. I want to unwind a little.
No,
See, this is my problem.
yeah.
I can be the most stressed out ever or depressed or whatever.
Yeah, I'm the same.
And then
Yeah.
watching really good cinema, even if it is stressful,
Yeah.
even if it is like horrifying,
Yeah.
it's the way I fill my cup.
No, I 100% agree.
Yeah,
Like,
it doesn't like make me stressed.
like
The way I fill my cup.
because yeah, I've noticed that trend where like Russ is like, I watched a lovely sweet tea movie. He's like, I watched Mrs. Piddlywinks and the Sunshine Boys. It's so lovely. They're like, I watched Sailor 120 Days of Sodom.
Fuck's sake.
Well, also a lot of it is influenced by who's sitting next to me on the couch.
Yeah.
And we can also only digest and watch so much together.
Yeah.
Because you don't live with Kira
No,
all
I
day,
don't.
every day,
yeah,
right?
No, so when we do see each other, I have to like pick my. I either have to pick something that's more in line with what she feels like because she's
Yeah.
not into the intense
Well done.
stuff.
That's it, guy.
Yeah.
You're just describing what every dude in a relationship has to deal with.
But then there's times where I'm like, oh, let's watch this movie. And then like she's like, why the fuck did you pick that? That was the most miserable movie ever. I'm like, but it's so good. But like,
my word.
So
Yeah.
we're compromised in that sense.
Yeah.
Cole, you also sometimes go between you and Michael, right?
Yeah, I'm not allowed to watch anything nothing serious around Michael.
Oh God.
I forced him to come here to watch Old Boy, and he gave it half a star on Letterboxd.
Oh, Jesus.
He's like, I didn't want to watch fucking incest tonight, Cole. Thank you. I was
so
like,
much
Cole
more
was
than
like, and then I said to him, Russ gave me the poster.
I got
Russ gave me the
as well, yeah.
poster, and I was like, when we move in together, can I put this in our apartment? He was like, no. I'm like, no, I want an Old Boy poster on my wall, dude.
Well,
Boys only want one thing, and it's fucking disgusting. The Old Boy poster in their apartment.
Gross.
Yeah.
Something we did watch together that I thought was interesting is a documentary called Black Barbie.
Oh yeah.
Which
It's
is
on
on
Netflix.
Netflix.
Yeah.
So this is Shonda Rhimes,
I love Shonda Rhimes. Yeah.
who is the creative executive producer behind some of the most influential and amazing TV we've ever had.
Yeah.
Grey's Anatomy and all
Yeah.
sorts of
Shonda
amazing.
Rhimes. I'm thinking of something else. Yeah. sorry.
She's then also behind Bridgerton. So there is an agenda of pushing the representation of black people in mainstream
I get you. Yeah.
mainstream TV, which is really great and important. And Black Barbie is the history of the Black Barbie.
Yeah, the first Black Barbie. Yeah.
But not just as simple as that, because there was a point where the documentary spoke and addressed about things, its main chief topic and argument in the first 10 minutes. And then I turned to Leslie, I'm like, what is the rest of this fucking movie going to be
Yeah.
about? We've got it, right?
Yeah.
But it's about politics, representation.
Yeah. It's important. Like representation.
and just the industry behind these
Yeah.
things and how toys work and how they're influenced. And it's lovely. And so I want to talk about one little thing that I think is interesting that came up,
Yeah.
which was this point where it was called the Clark tests,
Okay.
the psychological test that was done with kids about their relationship with dolls.
Yeah.
And it basically got
Right.
revealed that black kids didn't like the black dolls. They thought the black dolls were bad and that the white dolls were better. And it revealed this quite depressing sense of self-worth
Yeah.
in young black kids. And it set a course which helped change it, where beautiful companies existed that made these beautiful black dolls that
Yeah.
were something for black kids.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to also see what the status of being the Barbie meant. And this is what I wanted to chat about. There was such a smart decision to really push the idea in the Barbie movie that that all those women were Barbie.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Yeah.
Barbie and her friends.
Yeah.
They were all Barbie. Like all the guys were Ken, whether you were the black
Yeah.
Ken or the white Ken or whatever.
I'm
and
enough. Yeah.
that really got drummed home in the concept of the movie that they made
Yeah.
with Margot Robbie and all of them. I'm
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about the Barbie movie.
Yeah.
Because only when you see the politics behind the Barbie dolls and the black Barbie doll is that they made black characters that were Barbie's friends, and the black commentators throughout this documentary were like, that's cool, but she wasn't Barbie.
Yeah.
Sure.
She was this other character with this
token-
other name.
They were the token black.
They were the
characters,
friend.
yeah.
So that it took decades before there was like a Barbie that was actually called Barbie that was black.
Yeah.
That's wild, eh?
And it was very interesting. And also it was about who in Mattel were designing the clothes
Yeah,
and
who
who
pushed
got
for
to
it, yeah.
design the clothes. And so it was a black woman that designed the uniform of the black Barbie. And,
Oh,
and,
cool,
and it was,
cool.
it's great. It's a good watch.
know,
it's a
on my-
smart watch.
It's on my next up.
It's an
Yeah,
easy
yeah.
watch in that sense. And it just cracks open parts of your brain. And so
What is it on?
Netflix.
Okay.
So it's called Black Barbie.
Okay.
And this documentary, this as well, Subjective Voice, was about a particular. It was sort of throughout the film. It was the voice of the filmmaker. So she really puts herself in because she had an aunt, or she had a family member, who was involved in Mattel, that was on the assembly line, that got given the chance to encourage them to make the black dolls.
Sure.
And so that's what set this film in motion, and it was done over the course of decades. This filmmaker has made this film, so it's pumped. This is a little earlier to what we were talking about. This idea of authenticity. It was pumped full of a true and beautiful voice,
Yeah.
And regardless of whether you've made the best edit or the best cuts or the best structuring, if you've got this authentic voice that comes through and you can see the years and years and years that it's taken to make this documentary, you come to love and appreciate it.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, we've just done 10 days of encounters at the bioscope here, so it's like you see the power of documentary and you see what they've done.
Yeah, it's
and
important.
and all the different shapes and forms that documentary come in. They're a hell of an important. You know, the biggest one of which was Black People Don't Get Depressed, which was our guest 2 weeks ago.
Oh yeah.
Is
Sarah.
that coming back?
So we'll
Great title.
We'll do it. We'll do it in some shape or form. I chatted to Sarah over the weekend. We had 2 sold out screenings of her film at the bioscope. And it was just so lovely. And we were just talking about, we can screen this to schools. We can do more. Oh, it's lovely.
Yeah.
So it'll come back in some shape, but I don't know when or how just yet, but we'll do it.
Yeah.
That's great.
Is there anything else that you guys want to chat about in substance?
It's interesting that you're talking about, representation and stuff like that, how important that is, right? So one movie that I watched like 2 weeks ago that I haven't been able to get out of my head, it's one of the few 5 out of 5s I've given this year.
Ooh.
And a very polarizing filmmaker. It's called I Saw the TV Glow.
I've
I've
seen
heard
the
about
name
this.
of this.
So
yeah.
Jane Schunbrunn, I don't know if that's how you pronounce their name, but this film. So I didn't like their previous film, which is called We're All Going to the World's Fair, right? It's like a drama, mostly drama with horror. It's horror adjacent, right?
Okay.
And it's about a lonely kid who makes a friend online through like a YouTube channel.
This is
right?
the World's Fair film.
Yeah, so that
Okay.
came out like 2 years ago, and that was a big hit at Sundance.
It was a big hit at festival.
Yeah, but it's very. The thing is, I just didn't enjoy it. I found it boring. It wasn't. The concept was interesting because it really showcased what a lonely child goes through. You know, like
Yeah,
it's a
sure,
very representative film. Like I know a lot of people who watched it who really connected with it because they felt seen. They were like, "This was me in the 2000s." You know, I'm
Interesting.
lonely. My YouTube channel only has 5 views and like 2 subscribers. You know what I mean? Like one of
And
those.
so what was that
vibes.
film called?
We're All Going to the World's Fair, right?
Okay.
Very interesting film. Best way to watch it is on your laptop because it feels like you're there with this character, right?
Okay.
But now I saw the TV Glow, which is Jane Schunbrunn's follow up. It's A24. It's got a nice polish to it. You know, like
Okay.
it looks nicer. It's got a good cast. It fucking blew my socks off. It's
What's it about?
so basically, the concept of it is there's this lonely teenager who meets another lonely teenager, and they bond over a TV show called The Pink Opaque. It's set in the 90s, and The Pink Opaque is a very cheesy, like Buffy the Vampire kind of show, you know?
Cool, yeah.
But they connect to these characters, and their identities start to come about by watching this show. So their gender identity and their sexual identity. So one character, the whole movie is basically a
Coming of age?
Yeah, it's a coming of age movie, but it's an allegory for trans identity and queer identity, right?
Okay.
So this film, I mean, and it's coded everywhere through color palette, through the shot designs, through the way characters talk, and it is just one of the best examples of loneliness I've seen on film, especially amongst young people, and also the confusion of trying to fucking figure yourself out. And
What do you mean by coded?
it's like, how did I say it?
You sort of said through the color and through the choice, it was coded.
Oh, very queer coded.
What does that mean?
So queer coded comes from the Hays. What is that law called in Hollywood? That's
I remember the Hays.
yeah. Basically, it prevented. We've spoken about it before, where gay people weren't allowed to be featured in movies in any shape or form.
Yeah.
So for all that time, this language of cinema became developed that's called like queer or gay coding, right? It's where you would put in symbols and colors and things
it's
that
like
allude to
metaphors and allegories and stuff like that.
It's like a silly example is Call Me By Your Name.
Yeah.
And at the end of the film, Elio is wearing a striped shirt that's in the colors of the bisexual flag.
Yeah. So
it's like you're not going to know that unless you are.
There's a sequence in this movie where there's like this like big tent that the character's walking under, and the colors are of the trans flag, right?
So it's kind of two things, right? For the people that know what they're looking for, they'll see the signs of what they're looking for. But for the people that are completely oblivious, they're almost getting a bit of subliminal messaging.
Yeah, 100%, right?
Yes,
so
exactly.
like it's those kinds of movies work best when you rewatch it, because once you figure out what it's about, you're like, holy shit, it all makes sense now, right? So this movie, like when you know it's there, it's like obvious. It's not hidden, like,
Because everything has to be picked.
yeah.
You know, someone has to pick out what color shirt this character is going to wear. And you know, people know this, but some people maybe don't know this, but down to the color of the things on the shelf behind them. Every single thing is obviously thought through.
There's a discussion behind every single object in the frame.
And especially if you've got a bit more budget, you've got the time, you've got the departments to put this thing through.
Yeah, that's what like this film is like one of the most thoughtful. And so Jane Schoenbrunn, like I said, they're a very polarizing filmmaker. People either love their films or like hate it, right? And I didn't like their first film, and this film just I can't stop thinking about it. You know,
where did you have to get it?
So it's on VOD via America and stuff. It was via VPNs, right?
Yeah.
So
I saw the TV glow.
It's incredible. It's also like a really great film that I mean, a lot of us, I know
it
for
features Justice Smith.
Yeah, and it's just heartbreaking, dude. Like,
Detective Pikachu.
Yeah.
Oh, that guy.
Jurassic World.
Yeah. So
Fallen Kingdom.
It's just such a heartbreaking movie because you're seeing these characters really battle with who they know they are to be, but they're still hiding it. You know what I mean? There's such a fucking great monologue in the movie later where I'm not giving anything away, but the female character is talking to him about like how she literally went through hell to figure out who she is.
Yeah.
And it's a horror drama, mostly drama. The soundtrack is phenomenal. It's just by the time I got to the end, I was finished. Like I was fucking really like it's one of those films where you just can't stop thinking about it. And I haven't gotten it out of my head in like the past 2 weeks. Like I only think about it.
That's
so
good,
that passes the Leon van Nierop test.
Yeah,
and
let's call it the Van Nierop test.
And that's the thing though, like it's one of those films where I've seen people either resonated with it or hated it. Like, oh, I thought it was boring.
Yeah,
or whatever,
it's got a 3.6 on Letterboxd, so it feels like it's middle of the road.
It's but that's for me. That's what good art is when it's polarizing. You know what I mean? Like you want.
No, it shouldn't be
people
something
talking
for
about
everyone.
Oh,
Yeah.
David Ehrlich gave it 4.5.
Yeah, but yeah, David Ehrlich is a notorious wet blanket. Like,
I'm just saying, like if he likes it,
yeah, interesting. If he likes it, we must hate it. Okay, sorry. Cool. Anyways,
yeah,
lovely guys. No, I think it's interesting that you go out to do these intense, harrowing sessions. I go out to,
watch Lady Piggleton. And
No, but listen, I do love a good film in that sense, and I really do appreciate and love those kinds of films.
Yeah.
I do want that to happen. But yeah, you tend to sometimes avoid them when
100%. Kira would agree with you 100%. Where she's like, I don't want to be sad when I'm watching a movie. Like,
but if it catches you by surprise, I'm all for it. Like
Paddington 2. Paddington 2. Yeah,
lovely guys. Yeah, Paddington in Peru is coming.
Oh my
on
God,
its way.
So excited.
I can't wait for my eyes to piss tears.
Yeah, exactly.
There's another one that looks kind of interesting. It's going to be a dumb Christmas movie, but I just find it an interesting example of where a Christmas movie is in 2024, and that's with it's called Red One.
Yeah, with The Rock. Right?
Yeah, with The Rock, who's like the sort of Secret Service manager of Father Christmas, who's played by J.K. Simmons, who looks like this hardcore gym-toting, hardcore dude.
Yeah,
like what Bezos is now. And he gets kidnapped or something, and so it turns into this like big Fast and the Furious-y heist movie, but it's a Christmas movie.
I saw someone complaining about that on Threads, and they were saying this movie cost $250 million.
Oh,
That's
that's
like,
disgusting.
Yeah, sure.
Hectic.
No, we'll let them spend their money.
Yeah.
It's their money. Here looks interesting, which is the Robert Zemeckis
Oh, that looks
film.
cool.
We got a trailer for that,
Yeah.
which is Zemeckis is the guy behind fucking Back to the Future and Forrest Gump and
One
someone.
shot, technically.
Well, that's what
Yeah.
looks interesting. So we've spoken about him on the show before, and Graham was good to point out that he's always very open to trying new technology. So he made was it Beowulf? Or he made
Yeah,
he
he was trying to do the CG thing.
and he did the
Polar
Tintin
Express.
Polar
All the dead
Express.
eyes, they were-
Yeah, but it was him taking a swing.
Fucking Pinocchio.
Because he kind of could, right?
Jesus.
So there's that, and so we're using AI de-aging on Tom Hanks
Yeah, they make them
And Robin
teenagers,
Wright.
which is
and Robin
fucking
Wright. So this is
weird.
the director of Forrest Gump with Forrest and Jenny
Yeah.
back
I
again,
thought you were going to say with Forrest and Gump.
and
Yeah, Forrest, that's a good point. It's
and
Forrest and Jenny together.
Exactly.
Jenny.
Jade.
I might not be the smartest man, but I know what love is.
Yeah.
The trailer sort of almost alludes to the fact that this camera is not going to change position, and we are going to go through almost the history of the world from dinosaurs to civilization
story,
to
yeah.
how it ends up being that at this very point there is a house
Yeah.
that Tom Hanks lives in and raises kids with. And then the trailer ends with them as old folk going back to this house. So it's almost like it's set in this one place.
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't know if you watched The Ghost Story by David
No.
Lowery. I know you don't like David Lowery.
Who's David Lowery?
He did the Peter Pan recent movie.
Oh, no,
And he did the Green Knight.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
like Green Knights and I hate Peter Pan. So.
Anyway, so he did a movie called Ghost Story with
I remember seeing
Casey Affleck and
I wanted
Rooney
to watch
Mara.
that.
And that movie was partly inspired by the graphic novel that this movie is based on.
Okay, so this is
And it does the same thing. Like it goes through the history of time, and then they arrive at this point in time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's not one shot like that. That's
Yeah.
amazing. you
This
know?
looks interesting. So it's called Here,
Yeah.
and it's going to come out in November.
It's that soon.
Yeah,
Jeepers.
no, it's on its way. It's November is soon, bro.
Yeah.
November was always a very long time away,
Yeah.
and it's soon. And why I'm saying November in particular, because that's when I'm getting married.
Hey.
So it's like what was always quite a while away is now
Yes.
it's
Knocking
now,
on your door,
It's
bro.
now pretty close.
Are you gonna have a horror and break a few bones?
We
and-
should,
or just
smash some plates. Just bring in all the culture.
Yeah,
just appropriate everything.
Yeah, literally like mosh pit, horror, tomato. You know, you might as well
Yeah.
just do it. you know?
Bodies hit the floor. Just imagine telling everyone, like, okay, no, you guys go on that side, you
Oh,
guys
the
go on
wall
that
of death,
side,
yeah.
and then run at each other.
The wall of death, yeah.
Lovely.
What a way to start off a reception.
Funny. Lovely dudes. Thanks for a lekker chat. Thanks for a lekker morning.
Yeah.
And thank you for listening thus far. We are going to have ourselves a guest episode this week, as we mentioned. So tune in on Thursday for the guys from Doos Wine, who are also filmmakers. Brian and Asher are going to pop in for a very fun chat on Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
And then also, as mentioned, we are going to take a break just for 1 week because, as I mentioned, I am traveling. So I'm going to be away. So just for 1 week.
Cool. So we get time off. We can stay at home and not open the video store. Hey?
Yes.
Okay.
Just
sick.
for 1
Okay.
week. Just
Okay.
for 1 week.
Sick.
And then we'll be back.
Okay.
Our home base is thevideostore.co.za, and so you can see links to all the social media. Please chime in. Let us know what you think about what we've spoken about, or if there's something that we haven't spoken about that we should, and of course links to previous episodes. But yeah, we'll see you again on Thursday. Cheers, guys.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
What was that? Oh, sorry. Bye.